my crafty friends. I am going to do a tutorial on finding your north and south on your ornament foam balls. I use a 3-inch, which is right here, styrofoam ball. Some come with a seam around the center of your ball, right around the center. And all depending on who you order from, where you order from, some come really smooth, some come rough, and some do not come with that seam as a guide to find your north and south when you're doing your ornaments, your no-sew fabric ornaments. And that can be a little bit frustrating because then your front and your back, or your sides rather, your sides, when you go to hang your ornaments, are off center. And when you're trying to give them as gifts, or when you're hanging them on your tree, it's like you want to hide the back side or one of the sides that are off because you don't want anybody to notice when they come over to visit. We don't want that. We don't want that. No, can't have that. Why do all that work for something that we're not happy with, right? So, I was watching somebody who was doing the tutorial on it, and I was like, okay, you found your center, right? You found your center. But then somebody found 4 sections. Now I like to make the snow globe. It's called a snow globe fabric ornament. And I was thinking, because I made this one, I'm not done with it yet. I'll have a video for this one soon. But this here is one piece. It's a picture. It's the snow globe because it's a picture in the center. But there's 4 corners to it. And I found when I have the 4 sections, you'll see. I just got really excited. So you can go anywhere on the seam, anywhere on the seam. You can see it right here. There's a seam that goes right around, okay? So you can go anywhere. First of all, if you have a ball that has a seam, I like to use the micro cord. It's very soft, but when you go to cut it, it frays, right? So it makes it kind of hard to put a pin through it and keep it in place when you're wrapping it around the ball. So what I usually do, and like with anybody who has worked with any kind of cordage, is you take, be very careful. Do not let the kids see you do this. Please. Bad example. Gives them ideas, bad ideas. I'm sure you know this, but just in case some of you out there don't know and don't have children. So I just take my lighter and just squeeze it. Do it again for you because they're off camera. All right, let's see. All right, squeeze it. And I just give it a little roll. And it doesn't come apart. It stays. So now you can put your pin through the end and it's not going to go anywhere. So you take, let me see where I can find the seam for you. Okay, here it is. I like to use the pearl head pins with the big heads because they hold it down nice. And when you push down hard on the ball, it makes a nice indent. So when you go to pull the pin out and you go to do your fabric, you know where the center of the North and the South Pole is. So it makes there's many benefits of doing this. So I have found my crease. And I'm going to take the pin, put it right through the center of that piece that I just singed. Just a little. You don't want it to burn and melt, make that awful smell, catch it on fire. So what you do is now you're going to go along that seam. You're going to go along, you're going to follow it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to move my camera down so I can give a better view of it for you. Here we go. Here's a better view. Now you see this is the seam that's around the styrofoam ball, and the cordage, we're going to take this and we're going to follow it all the way around until we come back to the pin. So we're going to go all the way around and we're going to come back to the top. So we're going to follow. Now, you look over the whole thing that you have just laid the cordage on and make sure that you have it straight, tight, but you want to make sure you have it covered completely and that you're right on that seam. And then what you're going to do is you're going to now take that same cordage, okay? You're going to wrap it around. Let me see. Let me do that better. You're going to wrap it around. You're going to come this way. So now you're going to find your east and west. But before you start finding your east and west, we are going to hold it right there. And we're going to go back and we're going to take our thumb and we're going to press, because you just have a small, you just have a small seam. It's very faint. It's some of the balls are very faint. So you just want to make sure that you have a nice indentation in your ornament while holding onto the string nice in a stable position. And you're just going to go and walk along with your finger and pressing. And now you're going to see, when I slide this back, you should be able to see, because I can move it back over, you should be able to see that indentation, that definition, much better, right? Much better. So that's going to help you. So now that you have that done, now you're going to come back to the pin, pull it nice and tight, and now you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to try to find your center between the other two sides. And you're going to try to find your center and go, bring it around and around. Daddy's playing with Ruby. Sorry for the noise in the background. And then now you come back to that pin. So what you're going to do now is you're going to pull it nice and firm and taut. Okay, there we go. Now we're not going to take this pin out because then we'll lose the other half, correct? Yes, correct. So what I like to do is I like to put another pin in because I had already singed the other end too to keep it from fraying. So now you can see, well, I can see that it's not lined up. The quarters are not lined up. So you're going to wiggle it over, and you're just going to go, and you're just like this right here. Definitely not lined up. So you're just going to wiggle it over and wiggle it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you're just trying to eyeball it and get the best equal quarters. Because when you're doing the window I'm working on the snowflake, but when you're working on the window snow globes, you want to look at it and make sure that everything looks somewhat even and you're happy with it, which I'm pretty happy with this one. So now you're going to do the same thing as you did with the first half of the string. Is you're going to take your thumb and you're going to press. Now that you have it where you want it, you're going to take another pin and you're going to put it right on the X, right? Because you don't want that to move now that you have it where you want it. It stays put. It doesn't move anywhere. So even if you shift on the side, it's... My girl. The south is not going to slide over because all that work for nothing. So just gonna press and press and press and press. And you don't want to take your ball and roll it on the surface because 9 times out of 10, that string is going to shift. This is why you take your hand on the other side of the ball and you hold it in place. So while you're pressing the other side, come all the way to the top, go right in between, and there's also another way you could do it, which was the first way that I did it. And then I was like, no, let me try this one too. But now you have that. So now I have my north, and I have my south, and I have my east and my west. And you'll understand why that's important. So now you can take that pin out Now you go to take this pin out. You're going to see that you still have a hole from when you put the pin in. So you put the pin back in where it was, so you'll never lose that south point. Even though you have your grid, it's always good to have it for reference. And then take this out and put it back in. And there you go. You have your north and your south. That's how I did it. Another way is I don't know if there's anyone that used jewelry wire, but I did have a piece right here. And you could do the same thing, and that will give you a finer, more definite line if you don't have the original line on your ornament ball, your styrofoam ball. But that's what I did the first time, and I'm like, well, let me try the cordage and see if I could do it around 4 times. So I just had a nice long piece. And so when I got to the very end of the pieces that I needed, then I snipped it and I used the lighter. But I made sure I put something underneath it so I did not catch the styrofoam ball on fire. We don't want to melt it. No, we don't want to do that. That would not be good. No. So there you go, guys. And now that I have my north done here for my ornament, now I have my south to line up all of my pieces going around in the layers, and they'll be more even when they come to the other side of your other pieces. So when you go to put the ribbon around, you're not fighting to try to cover all the pins that you just put in on both sides that are meeting, because you're going to have a little bit of gap. No matter what size triangles you use, or how far apart you decide. If you decide to do a 1/4 inch from the first layer to the second layer, or a 1/2 inch like I did this one. If you do a 1/4 inch, you're going to have a larger gap. So be prepared to use a wider ribbon around the middle to cover your pins. So that's what I have for you today for getting your north, south, east, and west for your fabric ornaments. So this is Pam from Pammy So Happy and Crafty, and you all have a great day. Thank you.